point of where I'm like, okay, I am God now. I am God. I've just done 200 to 10K. So I see the digits of, let's say 14K. And I think, okay, if I add one more lot here, what's that going to bring my balance up to when I hit TP? It's going to bring it up to, I don't know, 20K, for example. And I think that's what it is, visually looking at what my balance could be if I just added one more lot. Finished breakfast and got a meeting with his trading psychologist in a minute. I just done my morning jog, so excited to meet with him. I think you guys are going to take a lot away from, you know, what he has to offer and what we're going to speak about. So yeah, hope you enjoy it. Let's get back home. Pat, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. First and foremost, lovely to meet you guys. Like Joel mentioned, my name is Pat BAILOUNI. I've personally been trading for the last 5 years or so. I predominantly trade currencies, but I've also traded US equities and that type of stuff as well. And it was a couple years into that journey, maybe 1 or so years into that journey, where I really realized how important the mindset component to trading was. When you understand where to put your entry and where to put your stop, that's quite a simple part of trading. But what I was really interested in identifying what are the things that stop me from going off and executing on that effortlessly. And I found that the mindset component was huge. So I went off and studied psychology and human behavior. And everything I learned from my studies, I applied to my trading. And more recently, over the last couple of years, I've started consulting with traders one-on-one and working with trading education companies as well, and passing on all the tools and understandings I've learned to help traders sharpen their edge in the market. So I'm hoping to get some value across to you guys today, some practical value, which I think will really help.
Just touching on one subject, you talking about how important psychology is. The traders in my room, we base our trading purely off emotional analysis. I think a lot of traders look at technical analysis, but we've seen a pattern in the market where emotions run the market, and emotions are what drives the markets to specific zones in the market. So I'm sure you can agree with me in that sense that the market is heavily, I would even say 90% driven purely on emotions.
I would agree with that, absolutely. I think Warren Buffett summarized it perfectly. He talks about the two dynamics of fear and greed in the market. And what I try to impart onto traders is that I think it's really important to know how to manage your own personal emotions. So that way you're put in the best possible position to capitalize on the people who don't know how to manage their emotions. So if you can see the fear and greed in the market, to put yourself in the best position to capitalize on that and make money off that consistently, you need to know how to manage your own emotions. And you need to understand what's going on in your head and have tools and processes to be able to deal with that. And ultimately, that's what I love to impart on traders. I impart to traders.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think one of the most important things that traders get into, talking about psychology now and traders' issues that I think probably most traders and my audience also have problems with, is revenge trading. So what do you suggest? What do you suggest for revenge trading? What do you think? Could you give us any tools of how to counteract it?
Absolutely. So I would love to develop this topic because I think it's a really, really important topic to discuss. I think 99% of people who go into the markets go in with the conception that losing is bad, and winning is good. I think a lot of people are programmed in society, in sports, and all that type of stuff that losing is bad. Just think about it. When you played sports and you lost, people said bad luck to you, unlucky. Right? You get punished and you have to go work hard and do all that type of stuff. And when you won in sport, you got rewarded. You got the trophies, you got the recognition. So we're hardwired to think that losing is bad, winning is good. And my personal feeling on this is, if you're bringing that mentality into the market, you're not putting yourself in the best position to succeed. And let me explain why. If you're thinking that losing is bad in the market, you're going to fear losing and you're going to try and avoid losing.
Yeah.
And when you do lose, you're going to be resentful to the losses, and you're also going to revenge trade to try and make that back, which is what we're going to get to. That's the ultimate question. And if you think winning is good, you're going to fear missing out on winning. Yeah. If you think about it, all FOMO is in the markets is the fear of missing out on the all positive expectation of winning.
Yeah.
It's your own expectations that you impose in the market. So my personal feeling on this is, if you're thinking losing is bad, winning is good, you're putting yourself in a very emotional position in terms of your trading. So to come back to your question on revenge trading, when traders take a loss, if they're only seeing the disadvantages to taking that loss, they're going to label it bad. And they're going to assume that that loss was a bad thing. And then they're going to try and make that money back, or try and do something to make it back, because in their mind, they're in a deficiency. So what a process I take my traders through is I get them to get present back in the moment where they perceive the loss, the resentment towards the loss, and get present in that moment. And very simply, I get them to ask, what were the advantages, benefits, or gains in that moment? And obviously you perceive that you'd lost a monetary value, but what is it you gained from that? And usually what we find is that when traders take losses, they gain a higher or greater accountability to stick to higher probability setups. Yeah. They gain a thicker skin, right? They gain the drive and motivation to become better traders. And I encourage your audience to do that, to go back to the moments and really identify when they do take losses, what are the advantages they extract in that moment? What are the unconscious benefits in that moment? And when you go in there and you uncover just as many benefits as disadvantages, you no longer perceive the loss as a bad thing. Yeah. Right. Do you see what I'm saying here? You change your perception towards the loss, and you're no longer seeing it as a negative experience. Yeah. Right. And in my experience, when I've worked with traders and we do that process thoroughly, and when we hold them accountable, because I assure you the answers will be there, just are you aware of them or not? There's no feeling of revenge trading. There's no feeling of, I want to revenge trade, because they see that they didn't actually lose anything. Yeah. They may have initially perceived to have lost a trade, but they've gained all these things: greater accountability to stick to their trading plan, greater drive to become a better trader. All those things that will be in the moment, but we are initially blinded to.
Yeah. So I was saying in my last video about how I focus more on my losses than my wins. Would you agree with me in that sense that, losses are so much more important than your wins to focus on? Or you say I'm wrong?
In what sense?
So you're looking back at your previous data, your trades, win, loss, win, 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 win. Would it be more important to focus on why you've lost to why you've won? What do you think is more important?
Right. So I would say personally, both are important to go in there and identify. But I think there's always, again, this is a cliche in the industry, but there's always lessons you can extract. Yeah. And ultimately, I do think you're right in the sense that traders do learn more from their losses than they do from wins. So I do think you're very accurate in that sense. But I think, and what I like to hold my traders accountable to, is learning from both experiences. Yeah. If you're winning, you still want to go in there and extract things you can, become more efficient and effective at, and things you can put in place. But of course, when you take losses, you're going to have that drive, and you're going to have that fire, that fire in your belly to, I really want to go on and uncover some lessons from this loss. Yeah. I would agree with you on that. Yeah.
Okay, so something that it's funny you talk about this point. So something that I want to talk about is I've been trying to do a challenge, right? I've been trying to grow a very small amount of money to a very large amount of money. And I've been successful twice, and then I've blown the account. Okay, so I put 200 in an account, I got it up to 18K, and then blew the whole thing in 2 days. And then I did it again and went to 14K, and then blew it all again. It's super frustrating because I'm actually trying to make a series on this. Maybe I'll put it out. Maybe I'll put the videos out of what not to do. But why is it that whenever I get to these large numbers, always blow the account? Always blow the account. Why do you think it is?
It's the same dynamic I just spoke about. Because when you're at those large numbers, you're perceiving yourself above the market. You push yourself into a state of pride because you're now successful, right? And you think you know better than them. I'm just assuming here, right? We have to do a little bit of work to identify. This could be right. You're then assuming what's going to happen in the market next, and you're projecting your ideas onto the market. Guess what? The market doesn't give a fuck, man. And it's going to humble you so quickly. This is what I was just explaining before. So with the challenge, right? If you're going in there and as you start incrementally making more and more money, you self-govern. All right, I'm at 14K, but what are the disadvantages? What are the risks? So you make yourself consciously aware of the other side so you can self-govern yourself and the market won't do it for you. But there are two different types of feedback systems, I guess, around us. We have an autotelic feedback system, which is pretty much means self-governance. When we get into a state of pride or state of shame, if we have an autotelic feedback mechanism, we self-govern, we bring ourselves back to equilibrium. And then there's also a heterotelic feedback mechanism where if we don't do that, we're going to attract external circumstances to do it for us. Like, for example, blowing your account from 18K kind of thing. So this is the whole thing I'm trying to communicate to traders here is the importance of learning to self-govern. When you're in the lows, learn to find the highs. And when you're in the highs, learn to find the lows. So you constantly bring yourself back to a state of equilibrium. Super important. It'll put you in the best position to just execute on your plan.
I definitely have a problem with that, and I can feel myself. The thing is 10K seems to be that barrier for me. When I push past the barrier, I go a little bit further and then slam back down. And that's the point of where I'm like, okay, I am God now. I am God. I've just done 200 to 10K. This is going to go 50, 100K, 200K. And I get so I see the digits of, let's say 14K. And I think, okay, if I add one more lot here, what's that going to bring my balance up to when I hit TP? It's going to bring it up to, I don't know, 20K, for example. And I think that's what it is. Visually looking at what my balance could be if I just added one more lot, and how amazing I'd be if I pull this off and then withdraw, I don't know, 50K, 100K, but never get to that mark.
And the moment you have those thoughts of how good I am, I'm God now, that's when the market comes in and humbles us as traders.
Exactly. It's funny that it's just a specific region. That's what I don't understand what it is. Maybe, but sub 10K, I don't care. I'm just trading it as normal, focus. And then as soon as we get above, I think, okay, this could actually be something huge, and it knocks me back down. So, yeah.
Well, another thing on that as well, Joel, is if we're infatuated with the figures, and I think if we're making this more broad to your audience here, if we're infatuated with a goal and we put it up on a pedestal and we look up to that goal and we assume that goal is bringing us more advantage and disadvantage, then we're gonna self-minimize in respects to that goal, and we're not going to feel worthy of achieving that goal. So the exercise I just explained before, I think, is just as important there, because what you learn to do is you learn to bring this golden thing you're assuming is all great, that figure, off the pedestal, and you level yourself with it. And now it's just a matter of time until you achieve it. So I think this whole process is a level of balancing perception, learning to get back to a state of equilibrium, so you're put in a state of balance with the markets and with yourself.
So is there anything specific? Because I mean, you know, I can say, you know, when it's great that I've got a good example of exactly this situation. So say I'm at that level and I'm feeling like God. What are the actual tools that I can, you know, give to myself? Is it a day out? Is it a week off trading? What is it that I can actually do to stop myself from, when I get to these levels, and the audience that are watching, when they get to, you know, almost their target and then they start thinking they're God, what can you actually do to, you know, bring yourself back down to the equilibrium level?
Very, very simple. If you're perceiving yourself in a godlike state, it means you're assuming that whatever it is you did or didn't do, or whatever you're displaying or demonstrating, has more advantage and disadvantage. Right? So having this amount of money has more advantage and disadvantage to my life right now. And that's the perception of it. Right? Now, just think about it from this perspective. If someone didn't like money, or if someone didn't have a high value on money, they would be thinking the exact opposite as you, right? They'd be extremely disappointed by making all that money. So we determine our perception of something based on our priorities. And you can change your perception on something. So my suggestion would be, and this is the processes that I take my clients through, is find out the disadvantages to having that particular thing. Let's say, for example, the thing you perceived yourself doing was turning $200 into 18K. Great, make yourself aware of the disadvantages of doing that. Because the reason you perceive yourself in a God state is because you're only consciously aware of all the advantages to doing that, but you're unaware of the disadvantages, the risks, right? And with traders, I tend to find that there are health risks. So you can look in every area of life. What I've seen is that traders who really start to make a lot of money, their health tends to go in the opposite direction. A lot of stress associated with that.
And hit the nail on the head. You've hit the nail on the head. Wow.
And I've also seen situations with money going up and relationships going down as well. So the moment you can really balance out your perception and see that, oh, look, when I start to make really great money in trading, my health and my relationships actually start to decline. Guess what? You're no longer going to be perceiving yourself as godlike. You're going to be perceiving yourself as a human being. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all have what we label good parts and bad parts. We have success, we have failures. So I think it's all a matter of balancing your perception, seeing the other side to the event. And guess what? The moment you do that, you'll be less likely to repeat the self-sabotaging behaviors because you're taking that figure off the pedestal and you're leveling yourself with it. You're not assuming it's an all positive thing. You're seeing the disadvantages to it. You're leveling yourself with it, and you're going to feel more worthy of holding on to it as well.
No, absolutely. Goodness me, the point of the relationships going down and your mental health and your physical health going down as well when you're on these winning streaks or losing streaks, I think, is perfection. Even this week, it's been pretty hard week, but I got through it, and I can even see myself just slowly, like I've got a twitch in my eye, like I just don't feel good right now because it's been a hard week, and that's just what traders deal with, you know.
So let me offer a different perspective on difficult weeks. What I've seen common is that whenever we perceive we have difficult weeks or difficult days or difficult trades, we tend to go back to higher priorities, and we tend to have the motivation and drive to extract lessons, and ultimately we tend to grow from that. And what I've seen in counter to that is for easy weeks, or when we make a lot of money, we tend to attract low priority distractions into our life, right? And we don't tend to grow. We don't tend to learn as much when we're making a lot of money. So the benefit to losing is that you have that drive, that accountability to become a better trader. And the disadvantage to winning is you a lot of the time stunt your growth. So I think if traders are aware of those two dynamics, we start to take losing at the pit and winning off the pedestal. You level both, you see them both as more neutral, and now you're in a great position to just execute on your plan and just consistently execute on your plan, irrespective of the result.
I completely agree. Pat, thank you so much, for giving us an insight. I'm sure we're going to do another episode again, covering some different topics that we're going to get in the comment section. Guys, if you would like a session with Pat, I promise you it's worth every minute, every penny, because he's really, really good at what he's doing. Pat, do you just want to shout your things out?
Yeah, I appreciate that, John. Thanks for having me on. First and foremost, if you guys have any additional questions on anything we've covered, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll go through and answer some questions as well. But yeah, I have my website, which is PatBailouni, PatBailouni.com. And you guys, if you resonate with what I said today, you can go in there and book a free call with me, and I can pass on how I could best assist you in terms of taking you from a good trader to a great trader. And that's what I love doing. I love passing on the mindset, tools, and understandings to help traders just become excellent at what they do. I'm sure Joel's probably going to leave something in the description, and we'll sort you guys out.
So guys, check out the description down below, and please ask the questions for episode 2. Pat, I'm sure we're going to do an episode 2. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me, dude.